All right. We are live on YouTube because every other platform wants to be pain in the rear end right now. But that's okay. We will take it for what it is. And oh, look at this. We're live on YouTube. I can see our lovely little faces. Just the two of us. That's all. That's all we need is just the two of us. We don't need that shitty third wheel anymore anyway. Nope. Nope. Not at all.
Look, I'm dancing better than Sasha.
The big white guys dancing better than
Yeah,
Sasha.
I mean, I'm grading myself on a scale here, obviously.
I,
Um,
I know, I know, I know. It's all good.
I think somebody of my size and persuasion, anytime that I can move somewhat rhythmically, I should be given like all the credit in the world because isn't that the way it works with white males? If we do the bare minimum, we're the greatest things ever.
Okay. I mean,
I mean, I swear that's what some people out there say, not naming any names, looking at all of you right wing Twitter. Um,
oh, you're too funny. You're too funny. Twitter. You Twitter trolls and you social media freakoids.
hey, I posted a tweet today.
You did?
Um,
What was that?
with a picture of my action figure.
With a picture of your action figure.
Yes, the one that I shared with you earlier
Oh, the
today.
one that you showed me, the Jimmy Cornetti. Yes.
Yes, and I tagged Jim Cornette and Brian Last in it with the hope that one of them might retweet it because I have seen Cornette do that in the past, where he'll sometimes
What show was it? There
send
was
pictures of it.
ah, what are the shows? One of the shows I just listened to, he was talking about like signing stuff and getting
Hmm.
things up. He's like, "Don't worry, people. I'm getting them out in stages. Your guys will get your stuff. You'll
Yeah,
get what you paid for it." I was like, "That's kind of funny." He was like, "Okay,
yeah, because it's he you got to give him a lot of credit because his merch that he sells and everything, it is completely a mom and pop operation in the sense that he like runs it and maintains it. He has, a couple people that he mentions frequently on his podcast that like, like kind of like do some of the work for him and everything. But with a lot of stuff, it's like, yeah, it's like when you buy something, he personalizes in some way. And like, I'm not going to go grab the figure because it's in the other room to show on camera, but he does sign it and he will like personalize it to a certain extent, I guess. And that's why I was saying I was tempted to have him write something like, fuck Trump or whatever, because, he hates Trump too. But I said, nah, why would I want that name on this action figure that I'm spending money for? So he just signs it like, and it even says this is how he'll sign it if you don't like make a personalization request. He just signs it, your friend Jim Cornette. So it's like he is actually like, signing it. So it's like, I know that he touched this figure. So
yeah,
but yeah, it's like, so yeah, he doesn't like he's not like Amazon. He's not like, you buy something, he ships it the next day. So but
yeah, no, but it's cool though.
it is.
That's
It is.
that's definitely it's cool that he'll write what you are asking him, what you want him to
Yeah.
write on there.
Yeah, it's like I don't know how much of a character limit there is. It's like there is only so much space on those bubble packages. So, it's like
Yeah, but at the end of the day, that's super cool.
yeah.
100%. 100%.
And for anybody who doesn't know, it's like what it is that he sold a couple different action figures of him that's produced. I don't remember which company produces it. It's not like the company that produces WWE's figures. But they've done a couple different like variants as it was of him over the year. They did one with the outfit that he wore when he debuted on Raw in 1993 when he was wearing like a pink jacket. They did like the Christmas one where he was decked out in like red and green, which I think was from a Smoky Mountain wrestling show. The one that I got, which he released initially, and I like forgot the day it went on sale and was sold out by the time I remembered, and then apparently they found like a couple hundred extra in the warehouse when they were doing like inventory, so they sent them to Cornette to sell them again. Is like he's wearing like a white. It was from the beginning of the Midnight Express versus Midnight Express angle in Jim Crockett Promotions, where
Hmm.
at that point the Midnight Express that Cornette was managing was Bobby Heenan and Stan Lane, but then Paul Heyman showed up with the original Midnight Express of Dennis Condrey and Randy Rose, and they beat the hell out of Eaton, Lane, and Cornette. And this was, of course, where Heyman took that big 1980s brick cell phone that was as big as my DVD rack back there, practically, and nailed Cornette over the head, and Cornette bladed or whatever, and like the term he's always given is like he bled a gusher in a white suit. So
Let it gusher.
there's like blood stains on the jacket and everything. So that's what
I'm gushing out.
yeah, so
Somebody
that's what
save me.
so this is like the like the bloody jacket variant as they call it. So it's a pretty cool figure like that. So and it's marking like a specific incident in his career. So I just think it's a cool figure, and he doesn't sell many figures anymore. I think he said he may not be doing many, if any, figures in the future. I can't remember what he said about that. So I'm like, well, here's my chance, and I almost missed this one too because it's like he gives plenty of warning in his podcast. They're going to go on sale on this date, starting at this time. And when that day rolled around a couple of weeks ago, I went, shit, I forgot again. But when I got on there, they still had them available. So I'm like, order.
Get that shit in. But
Yeah.
you should put that
And it was
a reminder on your Google Calendar.
Yeah, and there's this like annual charity event that happens in Louisville where he lives. That it's like a children's charity thing that he like donates to every year. So it's like some
Yes.
proceeds from the figure were going to that. And he also said if we sell out of all these figures that they found, then I'll donate an extra. I think it was like 5,000. So I'm like, helping to contribute to a good cause too. So
Yeah, no, I know he talks about that a lot on his podcast. So that's cool.
yeah.
Glad he does that. 100%, 100%. So we are missing our third wheel. Yes, and he is our third wheel, folks. He is. Yes, because
The tricycle has been reduced to a bicycle.
yes, we don't need that tricycle.
I can't ride either.
um, he has been kidnapped by the basketball gods this evening. So, yes, that's all I can say. I mean, we could talk shit more on him, but it is what it is. I'm in a good mood today.
We could talk shit on him. We should talk shit on him.
Pretty much.
He knows what he did.
Yes.
Well, I mean, so wait, how did he put it to us?
Check it out. The text messages. Go back.
Yeah. I'm like,
let's go back to.
We're both grabbing our phones, isn't this
let's
wonderful?
Let's see. Yes. Let's see. Are we on tonight? I'm a maybe from Jeremy. Pat replies back, I am human. What is that supposed to mean? Which made me fucking laugh. I'm not gonna lie. Like I giggle.
I've never heard of what a maybe is.
I just started laughing, dude. I was like, oh, Pat's trolling. He goes, depends on how basketball goes today. And then you reply, so I should root for your team to lose because if they lose, you'll want to vent about it. And you put a smiley face. He's like, no wins, so we only have one game to play. Oh, I see. And then he's like, I will not be on tonight, which meant they lost, so they must have had to play extra games.
So it means that his team lost their first game. So I guess what we could say is that he didn't do his job.
Correct.
And so that's why he's not on.
I need to have a chat with his varsity coach and be like,
yeah, that sounds about right to me.
Yeah.
So it's his own fault he's not on. That's what I'm getting at.
The lack of his basketball coaching skills is what prevented him from being on the podcast tonight.
Yep. That's just very sad. Oh, I've got something I need to mention now.
Yeah, I need to get those kids in check, man. Gotta rock it out.
I can't go off this page now that I'm on Facebook.
Okay. We're going down a side road. Let's go. Rock and roll.
Well, no, I was just kind of scrolling through my Facebook feed and something just popped up on my feed because I get all kinds of weird shit on my Facebook feed.
Coming from you, I would 100% expect that.
Fucking Facebook algorithm, right? This is from something called the Frozen Tundra Network. This is a post of theirs from June 19th, so just 3 days ago.
God, the Green Bay Fudge Packers. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, are they? Was that what it is? Well, oh yeah, Frozen
Frozen
Tundra. Yeah.
Tundra. Yeah,
The
yeah,
Frozen Tundra of Lambeau Field.
yeah.
Yeah, it was cute the first 5 times you did it, Chris Berman. It got old very fucking fast because you weren't fucking John Facenda. So shut the fuck up.
I like Chris Berman though, but continue
I
on.
like Chris Berman too when I was a kid and a teenager. Then when I got to be an adult, I realized that his shtick was fucking old. So
Well, I mean, he was old too, but go ahead, continue on. What do you have
top
here?
top 50 most miserable fan bases in sports.
Top 50. That's way too many to go through. Let's just.
It is. So I'm not going to go through the whole list, but here's what I find. There are baseball teams,
Hmm.
there are football teams,
Hmm.
there are basketball teams,
Hmm.
there are hockey teams,
Hmm.
and there are also college teams.
Mm.
And the problem, of course, when I see these college teams, I'm going to have to always assume it's the sport with which they are most commonly associated.
Most likely, yes.
So,
You
like for
should
some, that's
assume right.
football, and for some, it's basketball. All right.
Yes.
I'm really trying to figure this one out in a lot of ways. Okay.
Let's give us our top 10. What's the top 10?
Number one, Detroit Lions. That's perfectly understandable. The only, well, they, along with the Browns, the only pre expansion era teams, pre merger teams, or pre AFL teams, let's just call it that have never made a Super Bowl.
Yes,
And
Detroit Lions' last NFL title was in 1957.
right. So before the AFL was a thing, before the Super Bowl was a thing, you know.
Mhm.
Number two, Chicago Bears.
It's what happens when you screw around with the 85 Super Bowl shuffle and then you fuck around for all those years and you get back to it and you know the offensive coordinator decides to switch running backs and start throwing the ball more than running it when they shouldn't have been. But whatever, I digress.
In a
Continue
game that
on.
was in a game that was played in a monsoon.
Ah, yes.
Fucking,
Hence, why would
fucking,
you keep throwing? Why would you have
yeah,
Rex Grossman throw more
fucking
when you
Super Bowl
have
41.
Jones on your team as a running back? Oh no, but we wanted to put the rookie Cedric Benson in. Whatever. Okay, continue on, please, before I keep ranting.
Number three, this is going to make you laugh again. Minnesota Vikings.
Oh,
So that's another reason why you can tell this was, I think, by a Packers fan. The
yes,
top three are the other three teams in the same division as the Packers, but there's definitely a case to be made for that.
yes.
You know,
Did you see the stat that came out that the they came out with the top winning percentages of all NFL franchises, but I don't remember if it's su Super Bowl till like from the like Super Bowl area or it's pre-Super Bowl, like the whole existence of the organization. I didn't see that written in there, but just for a subject, it's funny they have Minnesota 3 because they have one of they are in the top 5 or 6 for winning percentage, but yet they're the only team that's in the top 5 or 6, wherever it was, that has not won a Super Bowl yet. So it
it,
might have been the Super Bowl era, but it was kind of funny that they're like in five something, high 500s, but yet they have not won a Super Bowl.
yep,
I'm not complaining because I don't want any of the teams in my division to win a Super Bowl, but
yeah, and of course, the Vikings have lost 4 Super Bowls. They were all within a few. What was it with about with like a 7 or 8 season span there in the late '60s and to
yes,
into mid '70s. They haven't
correct.
they haven't gotten back there since. Um, they're resetting it again as you were with drafting JJ McCarthy, and of course, a few busts, they'll be resetting it again. So,
Pretty much.
yeah. All right. But you know what? I'm picking up a trend here now, again, noticing like, I'm really now noticing this trend, but we'll
Okay.
get to
Number
that.
4. What's number 4?
Detroit Tigers.
Oh, Lord have fucking mercy. Okay.
Now they haven't won a World Series since 1984. They got there in 2006 and 2011, I think it was, and lost both. So number five, Chicago Cubs.
Oh, fuck them
Now,
pieces
it's
of
like they
shit.
did just break the streak. I know it's 8 years ago now, but
Let's
still,
come on now. We're better. We're still better than Milwaukee Brewers. Get the fuck out of here, you cheesehead fuckers.
yeah.
Continue.
Number six, Chicago White Sox.
Oh,
Now, they should be
please.
higher than the Cubs, for Christ's sake.
They
So
should be
yes,
number
their
one.
last World Series was within the last 20 years, but as we were talking, I don't remember if we were talking about this on air or not now, but they've been a pretty pathetic franchise pretty much ever since that World Series
Yeah.
championship.
Yeah, they had the worst percentage to make the playoffs, below
Yeah.
10%
Yep.
in their history. Yep.
Number 7, Minnesota Twins.
This fucking shit. It's hilarious.
Again, haven't been to the World Series in over 30 years now, since 1991. Routinely run into the Yankees in the playoffs and get embarrassed. So
Um, fuck Minnesota anyway. Continue
yeah,
on.
yeah. Number 8, Detroit Pistons.
Oh,
Now, again, I mean, you
uh,
can definitely justify them being
oh
high up on
God.
this list. They've been really bad for a really long time. They are now going to pay a guy $65 million to not coach.
Which is so stupid. It was just like you knew he was going to fail. Like, listen, Monty Williams is a good coach. Don't get me wrong. Like Phoenix fucked him over. Him going to Detroit, I think he just wanted a job. I think he wanted a challenge, which is fine because Detroit was definitely going to be a fucking challenge. But like you knew what you put your coach in. You knew the team that you gave your coach. No one was getting that. Listen, Red Auerbach wasn't getting that fucking team to a 500 record. Okay,
Yeah,
so you put him in the worst case scenario, and he's just like, fuck it. I'm collecting money from both teams now because you got organizations know what the fuck you're doing. So it is what it is. So let him collect his money and chill out, and whenever I gets the next opportunity, go for it.
yeah. So it was almost like what the Texans did there 2 years in a row with two different coaches after they fired Bill O'Brien and before they hired D'Amico Ryans. It was David Culley first and then Lovie Smith, right?
Yep.
Fired them both after one fucking season. So yeah. Number,
Insane.
number 9, your Chicago Bulls.
Get the fuck out of here, yo.
It's like
We got every
success,
Chicago
success has
team in the top 10. Come
it's like
on
success
now.
has been fleeting since the six
Oh,
titles, but again, six titles.
God. Yeah. What's
Number 10,
Detroit guy? Fuck out
number
of here.
10, number 10, Minnesota Timberwolves.
Oh God.
Number 11, Detroit Red Wings.
Oh my God.
Number 12, Chicago Blackhawks, which again, I know
Fuck.
they've fallen over the last couple of years, but again, they won a bunch of cups not that long ago.
We just had a mini dynasty from 2010 to 2000 like 15. What the fuck you talking
Yeah.
about? Oh my God.
Number 13, Minnesota Wild, which made me kind of go, there are Minnesota Wild fans.
What? It's like Columbus Blue Jacket fans. Get the fuck out of here. Why are they in the top 10?
So then this is really good too. Number 14, University of Michigan.
Oh my fucking God.
Number 15, Michigan State University.
Oh Jesus Christ.
Number 16, University of Illinois. Number 17, University of Minnesota. And number 18, the Ohio State University.
So all these teams are within like 3 fucking states, 4 states. Oh my God.
Yeah, they're all like the Michigan, Chicago, and then once we get into Ohio, Ohio,
You
you know,
dumbass fudgebacker fans.
Michigan and Ohio and Minnesota, So
This is why we can't take you people seriously up in Wisconsin. You
yeah,
fucking fudgeback and cheeseheads.
so so
Get the fuck out of here.
so they load them up with like the teams that could be considered
Oh
like the
my
immediate rivals of like the Packers
God.
and also the Brewers and like the teams that even in like the sports that Wisconsin doesn't have, which of course is hockey and basketball. Um, then you just load them up with all the teams that are like in the immediate geographic area. So, but I mean, so then just to kind of run through a couple others real quick. Like 19 is the Cowboys, 20 is the Celtics. I'm like the Celtics are pretty good at the moment. 21 is the Buccaneers, 22 is the Yankees, 23 is the Red Sox, 24 is the Nuggets, 25 is Duke, 26 is North Carolina, University of North Carolina, 27 is the Warriors, and then like you got other teams that are on here, the 49ers, University of Kentucky, the Dot, and then they go through a bunch of LA teams in quick succession. Dodgers, Kings, Ducks, Angels. And it's like the Angels should be the highest on that list right now.
Yeah.
Then they've also got the Raiders, the Kings, University of Texas, the Browns, the Patriots, the Spurs, the Eagles, the Mavericks, the Suns, the Padres, the Bengals, the Chiefs. I'm like, the Chiefs? The Rams, the Knicks, University of Alabama, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Seahawks. And it's like, well, the Browns 37th? Because, come on, they're the Browns. The Bengals 44th. I know they're a little more chill, but it's like, yeah, they're 0-3 in the Super Bowl now. They when they get these glimpses of being good, then something seems to go wrong, like the quarterback getting hurt or whatever. So the Knicks, I mean, come on, do I need to really elaborate on the Knicks for Christ's sake?
No, that all that's just baffling to me.
Yeah, so I'm just like, so I'm gonna leave a quick comment here. Let's see here. This is a very interesting list considering the positioning
Any
and some
biases?
of the and some of the exclusions. Because like, where are the fucking Jets on this list, for example,
Yeah.
and the Mets for that matter. Uh, considering the positioning and some of the exclusions, but I obviously got the joke as it pertains to the. Well, I'm going to change where I said positioning to ranking. Oh, that's great. Really?
What your smoke detector?
Yeah. Hold on a second. I didn't turn on anything today that would produce fire.
Maybe it's a low battery.
I'm hoping that's all it is.
Pat needs to go check his humble abode here because things are beeping at him.
Oh, I'm going to have to just wait to see if it happens again because, quite frankly, this is the disadvantage of apartment living. I honestly don't remember which one it is of the things that are like up on the ceiling and shit. And I don't think I could change it even if I wanted to.
Is it too high up?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that. Make the maintenance people do it.
Right. And it's like, I'm not even sure if I'm like technically responsible for it. So,
No, you're not. They are.
yeah.
They are.
So that was a fun little diversion. Again, it's like top 50
Yes.
most miserable fan bases in sports. And the New York Jets aren't on it.
Yeah, that's such bias. You know. Yeah. Okay, Forge Packers.
And
We
and
know where
and
you're going.
and the Buffalo Bills aren't on it.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
The
So,
Buffalo and the Buffalo Sabres
yeah, yeah.
and the
Soon it might.
Columbus Blue Jackets.
Soon it might be the Florida Panthers, but you never know.
Oh, that's
I
I
have I have bets on that. So
being that my team lost to the Panthers in the Eastern Conference Finals, I will laugh my balls off if the Oilers complete this comeback because
I've been rooting
nobody's
for
ever
Edmonton
blown a 3-0 lead in the Stanley Cup Finals, have they?
once.
Who was that?
1942, Toronto came back and beat the Red Wings.
So ancient history, pretty much.
And then
82 years ago, something that's 7 years older than my dad.
and then the next time it happened was 2 years later. Well, almost happened. Let me rephrase that. 2 years later, Detroit and Toronto played again. Toronto had a 3-0 lead. Detroit came back for his seventh game, but Toronto ended up winning this time. So, yes, 1942. The NBA is the only one that does not have a 3-0 comeback to win a championship. So NHL has been happened once. I think MLB, the Major League Baseball was 4 times.
Teams
I
have come
think
back from 3-0 in the World Series.
I think so. Yeah, they had the NBA was the only one that did not that there was no team that came back and won the championship down 3-0. NFL, I'm
That
sorry,
just
not, it
doesn't.
hasn't happened.
Well,
NHL and MLB. I think MLB had four. That was the graphic they brought up the other night on ESPN. Oh no, it was last night. The other game six, when I was watching game six at the end of game six, they brought the graphic up. It was 4 times in Major League Baseball history, 0 in the NBA and once in the NHL, possibly two. Listen, I've been rooting for Edmonton for 2 reasons. One, you know, um, I like McDavid, as hockey player, and two, I have a bet right now in my betting because we're allowed to bet in North Carolina. It's not a lot. It's only $25. We have free bets. So I put $25 on Edmonton and I put $25 on the field. So if Panthers win, I will win some money out of it. Not as much, but I think if I put 25 bucks and I think with the odds at that time, I think I win like 50, no, 40 some dollars. So I still make out. But if Edmonton wins, I think I win like over, I think like 130 bucks on that one because of the odds or whatever it was. So yeah, I rolled with it. So anyway, I'll win some money. It doesn't matter, but I'd rather have Edmonton win than make the bigger pot, in regards to that.
Well, I'm on Wikipedia and I've got slightly different information than you do. There is a whole Wikipedia article of list of teams that have overcome 3-0 series deficits. It's happened 4 times in hockey history, not just Stanley Cup finals. The one you just mentioned, the Maple Leafs beating the Red Wings in 1942 Stanley Cup finals.
Hmm.
In the 1975 Stanley Cup quarterfinals, the Islanders came back against the Penguins.
Yep.
In the 2010 Eastern Conference semis, the Flyers came back against the Bruins. And in the 2014 Western Conference first round, the Kings came back against the Sharks. And man, I wish they hadn't, since the Kings went on to beat the Rangers in the Cup finals that year. And there have been 5 unsuccessful comebacks. The 1939 Stanley Cup semis, the Bruins defeated the Rangers. The 1945 Stanley Cup finals, the Maple Leafs fended off the Red
Red
Wings,
Wings. Yep.
meaning
That
the
was the
Red
other
Wings
one.
almost got the revenge. This 1975 Stanley Cup semis, Flyers held off the Islanders. 2011 Western Conference quarters, Canucks held off the Blackhawks.
Yeah,
In
no.
2011 Western Conference semis, the Sharks held off the Red Wings. In baseball, it's only ever happened the one time, the 2004 ALCS, which didn't actually happen. And there was one unsuccessful 3-0 comeback, which was in the 2020 ALCS, the COVID year ALCS, where the Rays held off the Astros. And that's also significant, of course, in that the games were played at a neutral site with no off days. So,
Yeah.
asterisk series and an asterisk season, pretty much. And in the NBA, there's never been a successful 3-0 comeback in NBA playoff history. Only 4 times has a team forced a game 7. The 1951 NBA Finals, where the Rochester Royals, who are now the Sacramento Kings, held off the Knicks. The 1994 Western Conference Semis, where the Jazz held off the Nuggets. The 2003 Western Conference First Round, where the Mavs held off the Trailblazers. And last year's Eastern Conference Finals, where the Heat held off the Celtics, which is kind of interesting because one, that game 7 was played in Boston and they couldn't complete the comeback. And 2, they don't care now because they just won the NBA
Yeah.
Finals.
I swear it was they had 4 up there. So when the game's on Monday night, I'll have to take a look and see if they pull that stat up again because I'm interested.
Yeah.
But that's why. So since we're on this type of subject, I wanted to bring up this championship thing that I found. So since Boston won its 18th NBA title, there was an article on NBC.
27 is more impressive.
Yeah, I know. We'll get to that. Um, NBC Chicago Sports, pulled up an article, did the article for which city has the most championships across the Big Four pro sports leagues. So we're not doing WNBA or the MLS. So we're not rocking any of them in there.
And
So
we're not doing that for one simple reason, and that is because nobody cares.
some people care, just not as much as some should.
Now that I have offended all the WNBA and MLS fans, in which I don't care, continue.
Crazy. All right. So numero uno on the list is, you know, an East Coast team. And they're only on this list because of those 27 titles that the New York Yankees won. So New York has 54 titles for the city of New York. This isn't New York / New Jersey. This is New York. So I'll run through these. So
Okay.
New York Yankees, 27.
Mhm.
New York Giants, NFL, 8. New York Giants, MLB, 5. New York
That was my question. If it was going to count the
Yes.
Giants won in New York.
Yes. Any team that existed, it played in that city under the Big Four. So New York Rangers, 4. New York Islanders, 4. New York Knicks, 2. New York Mets, 2. New York Jets, 1. And then the Brooklyn Dodgers with 1.
I was going to be curious if they were going to count the Brooklyn Dodgers just because there's still that thing
Yes.
about, oh, it's Brooklyn, it's not New York, that,
Yeah.
it's like
Yep. And
you're Brooklyn's a part of New York City.
yes, yes.
You know.
And the only tidbit they had after at this is like New York has the Yankees to thank for being at the top spot. Pretty much. So that was
I
kind
mean,
of the biggest thing.
yeah, that is kind of interesting. That
It
it's basically
says,
that the Yankees have what was it half?
yeah,
It was exactly half, right?
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so
So the other only tidbit on here that says New York has the no, sorry. The Big Apple has not won a title across the 4 major sports leagues since 2011 when the New York Giants won the Super Bowl. All right. City
yep,
number
I'm
2,
I'm feeling both of those droughts, but well, not so much with the Giants, but with the Yankees certainly. So
for sure. Who do you think is number 2?
I'm still gonna. Oh, sorry. I'm still gonna have to go ahead and guess Boston.
Correct.
Yeah,
Boston comes in at second with 40 championships.
40.
Yes. Boston
So
Celtics with 18.
right.
Boston Red Sox with 9.
Yep.
New York Patriots 6.
The what?
Boston, New York Patriots have
The what?
6.
You did it twice.
New England Patriots. I don't know why I did
You called them the New
that.
York Patriots twice. I'm sorry. I had to stop you on
Yeah.
that one.
It's 10:44 at night Eastern Standard Time, people. I'm a little tired. Hey, okay. God, why did I do that? That's crazy in my eyes. New England Patriots have 6. Boston
There it is again.
Bruins 6. And
I was
then the
gonna say
Boss,
I can remember how many. I can remember how many the Bruins had.
yeah, and then the Boston Braves 1.
That's right. They did win one back in 1914. The Miracle Braves, as they were
Yes.
called.
Boston, the city boasts 2 teams that rank at the top when it comes to championships in their respective sports. The Celtics are in the league of their own with 18 titles, while the Patriots are tied for the NFL lead with 6 Super Bowls, all won in the Brady Belichick era.
Tied for the league with most Super Bowls, but not most NFL championships, obviously.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, they're doing Super Bowls, which is weird because, NFL.
They're not doing just Super Bowls because with the Giants have 8, only 4 of those are Super Bowls.
That's why I kind of like when I read that, I'm like, why would you put they're doing Super Bowl era for the Patriots one, which I whatever. You could do that, I guess. It is what it is, but I'm not really um is what it is. Boston is tied for 4th most championships in NHL history. Okay, great. Boston's number 2 with 40. Who do you think is number 3? Is it the Midwest city or is it the West Coast city?
I'm gonna guess at Chicago.
Correct. Chicago comes in at number 3 with 29 championships. Leading the way are the Chicago Bears with 9. Chicago Bulls and Chicago Blackhawks both have 6. Chicago Cubs and Chicago White Sox both have 3. And then the other 2 were from the original Chicago Cardinals, have 2 NFL titles in 25 and 1947.
They won in Chicago. They haven't won anywhere else.
Yeah, it just says Chicago's most recent championship success has been its 2 MLB teams break the World Series curses and its NHL team for a team and its NHL team form a dynasty. Okay. And then it has to throw this in there. While Chicago hasn't won a title since the Cubs' memorable run in 2016, the city can't put its hopes in 2 number 1 picks in Connor Bedard and Caleb Williams. I'm like, you had to throw that shit in there? Like, not needed. Continue on.
I mean, yeah, no pressure for you too. No
No,
pressure.
no. Number 4, East Midwest team or West Coast team? City, I should say. Sorry, I'm saying team. My bad.
I'm gonna, even though I think I could be wrong, I'm gonna have to go ahead and guess LA for this one.
Yep. Number 4 is LA.
Yeah.
They come in at number 25. And Number one on that list is the Los Angeles Lakers with 12
Yeah.
NBA titles. Los Angeles Dodgers with 6. Los Angeles Rams with 2. Los Angeles Kings with 2. Los Angeles Angels 1. Los Angeles Raiders 1. And Anaheim Ducks 1.
Yeah, so they're combining Anaheim and LA, which I figured they would, because the Angels were. I mean, they do play in Anaheim, and they were. I think they were still referred to as the Anaheim Angels when they won that one World Series. Um, how many did they say the LA Dodgers have again?
6. 59, 63, 65, 81, 88, 2020.
Yeah, I couldn't remember how many they won in what were still the Walter Alston managed years
Yeah.
off the top of my head, even though I should have remembered those. Yeah, 59, 63, 65
So
in the 80s, and then the bullshit COVID year.
So yeah, then for LA, they have Los Angeles is the only city to enjoy as much recent championship success across the sport as Boston. It has won a NBA, NFL, MLB, and NHL championship in the last 10 years. Though it does benefit from having two
As
teams
much
in
as you
each
want
of
to call
those
that a baseball
leagues.
championship, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Lakers have 17 championships, and people were like, oh, why don't you have 17? 5 of them were in Minneapolis.
Mm.
So can't count
And
those people.
yeah, like you
Can't
said,
count
the
those.
Dodgers won one in Brooklyn. And yeah.
Yep. So here we go. Number 5 is Detroit.
I
Detroit
don't think
only
that would have
has,
necessarily been my next guess. Yeah.
yes, they have 22, led by the Detroit Red Wings with 11 Stanley Cup championships. Then the Detroit Tigers with 4 um, World Series wins. Then the Detroit Lions with 4, I'm sorry, NFL titles. And then last place, Detroit Pistons with 3 NBA championships. The Lions may have 4 NFL championships, but they are one of 4 teams that have never won a Super Bowl. Let's
Down
throw
to
that one
four
in there.
teams that have never won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yep.
Wait. No, that's not right. That's not right. It's got to be four teams that have never been to a Super Bowl.
No. I'm going to pull this up because there's a link to it.
No, because I can tell you right now, the four teams that have never been to a Super Bowl are the Lions, the Browns, the Jaguars, and the Texans. But the Cardinals have never won a Super Bowl. The Panthers have never won a Super Bowl. The Bills, the Vikings. Um,
Oh wait, why is wait?
Bengals. So yeah, it's four teams that have never been to a Super Bowl. So if they wrote that as four teams that have never won a Super Bowl, they're wrong.
Let me see. Oh, okay, it's they worded it wrong. The Lions are one of 4 franchises that have yet to make the big game, along with Cleveland, Houston, and Jacksonville. Okay, so they
Jacksonville and Houston, of course, have the excuse of being expansion teams.
Yes, they worded it wrong in the other one. Okay, cool. No big deal. We clarified. Awesome. Number 6, San Francisco Bay Area.
So that's encompassing San Francisco and Oakland and
Well,
the Sharks have never won. So yeah.
Tied for first on this list is the Golden State Warriors and San Francisco 49ers both have 5 championships. Next, Oakland Athletics with 4, then San Francisco Giants with 3, and then the Oakland Raiders with 2. They just go through some historical stats with here. Nothing crazy about that one.
And the funniest thing about that, of course, is that the 49ers do not play in San Francisco anymore.
No.
The Raiders have left. The A's are leaving.
Yes, he's gonna be shit. Here's the funny one, and this is why I wanted Jeremy on here, because I was gonna make fun of him for. I was gonna poke a little fun at him for this one, because this one's kind of sad. Number 7 is the Philadelphia City of Brotherly Love, quote unquote. They have 18 championships. And the part at the end here is just hilarious. But let me go through it. Number 1 on this list is the Philadelphia Athletics with 5. Number 2, Philadelphia Eagles with 4. Philadelphia Phillies, 76ers, and Flyers, and the Philadelphia Warriors all have 2. And last on this list is the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets with 1.
Wow, they're counting that. That's
Yes. Yes, they are. Here's the
okay.
funny
No,
part.
no, no. That's fine. I just find that very interesting. Yeah.
Here's the funny part. Of the city's 18 championships, only 10 of them belong to franchises that still reside in Philadelphia.
Yeah, because the Warriors are gone, the A's are gone.
It's funny, like Philadelphia's
Frankfurt,
team
I,
is Philadelphia's the Philadelphia's team with the most championships. The Athletics moved out in '54. Currently calling Oakland home, but is on its way to Las Vegas. It's just like, damn, that's kind of sad that the team that owns the most championships hasn't been there since 1954. Okay,
and just for some real quick historical context, the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets were a professional American football team, part of the National Football League from 1924 to 1931.
short
although its
stint, but
or,
they won a championship.
although its origin dates back to as early as 1899 with the Frankfurt Athletic Association. The Yellow Jackets won the NFL championship in 1926. The team played its home games from 1923 in Frankfurt Stadium, also called the Yellow Jacket Field, in Frankfurt, a section in the northeastern part of Philadelphia, noted for the Market Frankfurt line that terminates there. So, for
Who
anybody
did they
who's
play?
hearing, so anybody who's hearing Frankfurt and is confused by that, yeah, it's a section of Philadelphia. So it's kind of how, in a way, it's almost like Brooklyn, you know,
Yeah.
in that sense. Have, they're having been the Brooklyn Dodgers and now the Brooklyn
Who
Nets. So,
who did they play in that championship game?
that's a good question. Let's see.
I'm curious now. We're going history about
I'm looking
brother.
for it. Yeah. After a win over the Chicago Bears, the Yellow Jackets played a second two-game series against the Providence Steamrollers. Frankfurt won the first game 24-0, but the second was canceled because of heavy snow. Pussies. Frankfurt then had to play their final game of the season against the Pottsville Maroons, who were still upset after their NFL championship title had been stripped from them after complaints from Frankfurt. That I think had to do with something that happened in the 1925 season, I think. Um, the game resulted in a scoreless tie. However, a 14-1-2 final record left the Yellow Jackets alone atop the NFL standings. Since a championship game would not exist in the NFL until 1933, the
Yeah.
team with the best
Oh,
regular
that's
season
right.
record was named NFL champion. This gave the Yellow
Yes.
Jackets undisputed claim to the league crown. The Jackets' 14 wins during that 1926 championship season set an NFL record for regular season victories that stood until 1984 when it was broken by the 15-1 San Francisco 49ers. Yeah, one thing you have to remember is
That's right. I
that
forgot about that. I couldn't remember when the champ title game started.
the first 20 to 25 years or so of the National Football League is so bizarre because you had so many franchises that started up and folded within a matter of
Yeah.
years. And it was hard to find teams that endured. I mean, the three oldest teams are the Packers, the Bears, and the Giants.
Yep.
But then, after that, it's like you got like the Commanders, you got the Lions, you got the Rams, you got the Cardinals, you got the Eagles, you got the Steelers, you got the Browns. But
Yep.
um, yeah, it's like so like the early NFL. It's like I, it's hard for me to my knowledge of NFL history is not as great as it is with baseball history, but essentially
I just couldn't remember because I knew it was like I couldn't remember if it was like 29 or 30. I knew it was in the early 30s, but I wasn't 100% sure.
yeah, until you get to post World War II, those first couple decades of the NFL, they're very similar to like 19th century baseball. In that, there was no American League yet, it was just the National League, but you had franchises
Yeah.
that came and went in those years. So
And the Federal League and all the other shit.
yeah, the Federal League was in the 19 teens. It was meant to be an upstart league to the major leagues, and it collapsed and folded after a couple of years. And
Yeah.
it did have some impact, but not a lot of impact. So, but um, you know, in terms of successful sports startup leagues, of course, there were only ever been two: the American Football League and All Elite Wrestling. So, um, not really nothing for that one.
No.
You don't remember when he said that? It
No.
was only a few weeks ago. All right, moving on.
Okay, number 8, Pittsburgh with 17. Now
Thank you, Steelers.
they only have yeah, they only have three teams.
Yeah,
So
that's
Pittsburgh with the Steelers with six, Penguins and Pirates both have five.
mhm.
The Steelers are tied with the Patriots with their six Super Bowl titles, while the Penguins and Pirates have five championships apiece. Okay, great. Nothing there fancy about that. Number nine is the city of St. Louis.
Number nine.
St. Louis.
Number nine.
Leading the way. This is kind of sad, but leading the way for out of these 14 titles, 11 of them are from the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yep. The St. Louis Baseball Cardinals.
Yes. And then we have one for the St. Louis Blues, one for the St. Louis Rams, and one for the St. Louis Hawks back in 1958.
And the St. Louis Football Cardinals never won. And of course, they've never had a basketball. Well, now that you just mentioned they had basketball, they haven't had a basketball team in a while.
Yep. And they have the second most World Series titles in MLB history.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the other ones are first. Now,
Still not even half as many as the Yankees have. Oh,
tied for number 10
okay.
on this list is two cities, one city that I despise highly every day of the week, 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year. The other city
Dallas
is a city that is in the central time. No, they're on East Coast time. Close enough to central. On the East Coast that our friend lives near. And that is a city I'll start first with is Cleveland. Cleveland is on this list with the following teams, 13. 8 of them come from the Cleveland Browns.
Thank you, Jim Brown.
And others, yes. Number 2 on this list is the Cleveland Guardians with 2, which I totally forgot about the 1921 for whatever reason. That's the one I knew 48, yes, 20. I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, 1920 when Tris Speaker was still a superstar player, and then 1948, which is now, of course, the longest baseball drought.
And then a tie for the rest. Cleveland Cavaliers with one, won by the fake goat. The next one on the list is the Cleveland Rams, 1945. And next on the list is the Cleveland Bulldogs, 1924.
Yeah, another one of the
what a great
primitive
history.
NFL teams. Yeah.
What a great history Cleveland has there. Fucking spectacular.
Yeah. So what you said, the total was 13.
Yes.
8 of those were by the Browns.
Correct. 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 54, 55, and 1964.
Oh, those evil, evil bastards. That is very interesting. The Browns were not in the National Football League until 1950. So they're counting the championships from the All-America Football Conference, which they played from 1946 to 1949, in which I believe, they won all 4 championships.
Yeah, I know for history-wise, they've included stats and records from that league included in the NFL.
Yeah, the only 2 teams that came from the AAFC that lasted in the NFL were the Browns and the 49ers. The other teams in the AAFC were the New York Yankees, the Brooklyn Dodgers, and yes, they played in Yankee Stadium and Ebbets Field respectively.
Yep.
The Buffalo Bisons, the Miami Seahawks. Talk about something that's kind of funny now.
Yeah.
the Chicago Rockets, who played in Soldier Field.
Yep.
And the Los Angeles Dons.
The Dons, like some mafia gangster shit there. I
Well,
think that's
no,
hilarious.
it's referring to the term, meant for like the Spanish nobility that would have
Yeah,
originally
yeah,
founded Los Angeles in the early 19th century and everything.
but it's
But
funny.
the some sports obviously sound more like it's like some fucking mafioso thing. But yeah,
Hey,
so
what a Dons? Hey, oh,
okay, but so that kind of further adds to to the point I was going to make then. So the city of Cleveland has 13 championships, eight of which were won by the Browns, none of which have been a Super Bowl. So meaning nothing in the last 50 plus, damn near 60 years now, and four of them are in a league that you kind of have to apply a slight asterisk to. Their most recent baseball championship was in 1948, a year before my dad was born, and they got that one title from the Cavaliers and just that one.
yep.
Yeah.
That's horrendous. Sorry, guys. That's fucking horrible.
It frankly is. Now, obviously, I don't think Cleveland's ever had a hockey team. Um,
I had to look, but I think that's a no.
yeah, but so it's just,
I don't think they ever have.
yeah.
And then the other team tied for 13 was a team that we were talking about earlier that made that dumbass fucking list from Fudge Packer World. Yes, Green Bay is on here for their 13 NFL championships. And yes, they're the only fucking team in that goddamn city because that's all they can fucking afford. So, yes, Green Bay is on here with 13. They are the other one. But
Wait, the
yeah,
Packers have 13 championships?
yes.
Damn.
Yep. They're one. They lead. Yep, yep. That's why I hated when they won. I wasn't so mad about 1996, but the 2010 one, I hated that one with a passion. But yeah, yep, they have 13.
The Packers fans bragging about how many championships they've won is a little bit like Yankees fans bragging about how many World Series they've won. How many were you actually alive for? I've been alive
Hmm.
for five Yankees World Series championships, which for the Packers, um, unless you're in your 60s, it's pretty much the same because they won six between 1929 and 1944. They won five in the Lombardi years in the 60s, and then they've got
Yep.
the four, and then they've got. Well, no, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that. They've got five in the Lombardi era, two of which were Super Bowls,
Hmm.
and then they've got the two other Super Bowls they won, the one with Favre and the one with
Rogers.
Rodgers. So 13 titles, only two of them since Sergeant Pepper was released,
Yep.
basically.
Yeah.
But that's that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not entirely fair. The second Super Bowl, Super Bowl two, the 1967 season. Yeah, but I still like the way I. Okay, two since the White Album came out.
There you go. There you go. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, it's like that joke in Necessary Roughness where Rob Schneider's public address announcer is talking about Scott Bakula's quarterback who's like the 30 or 40 something whatever the hell he's supposed to be who's coming back and playing college football there in the early 90s, and he says something like, incidentally, Armadillos fans, quarterback Paul Blake is the only member of the team alive when the Beatles were still together.
Yeah. Crazy.
So,
So I found that was a cool, pretty cool article. ESPN did one too, and it was a little bit weird where some of the numbers, like I read to you, were accurate, but then like for Chicago, and here's the part I thought was weird, and I feel like they took out the Chicago Cardinals
mm-hmm.
and they replaced it with the Chicago Sky and the Chicago Fire when they both won the championship
So
because
they were they were
they were
trying to
both
they were trying
they
to be
were
current.
yeah, there was like
Sounds like
it was 20 not, but they removed the Chicago Cardinals because they had two, and they were like, well, the Chicago Sky won one, and we'll throw them up there because it's a major league sport. And MLS, they threw that in there too. Chicago Fire won one back in like 96, 97, 98, one of the in the late 90s. I was like, mm, okay, but if you want to do that, then you know, do every major sport, then do every major sport. Don't negate the others. then just say Chicago has 31 and add the other ones to the for the others too, like the New York Liberty, if they had whatever, however New York's one, add that to that. Like, don't just, pick and choose which ones you want to do. It was kind of weird.
Wait, wait,
But
wait,
it's ESPN, so
wait. So you're saying that they counted WNBA and MLS championships for one city, but not for another?
No, they did it for others, but like so ESPN's one, it said Chicago had 29 because it was
Yeah.
like the only one it was the one I pay attention to the most. So 29 on this list and was only through the four big sports. ESPN did a similar thing and it also had Chicago at 29, but it listed the most recent championships for all their Chicago teams, and it had the Chicago Sky, the Chicago Fire from MLS, and then it had the Cubs and the Blackhawks and their most recent championships. And I'm like, you're adding the Sky on there, but like if you're doing that, and now it didn't do like a breakdown like this one did, but if like you're adding the Chicago Sky and the MLS Fire, then you're neglecting to add the Chicago Cardinals back in the day. So I'm kind of like, why were they kind of like nitpicking? Like, I understand you're showing the most recent, but like, are you giving like, I didn't, it seemed like their list, they were including the WNBA and MLS, but the numbers weren't like, for at least Chicago, they weren't accurate. Because if that's the case, and they should be at 31, not 29. So it was a little bit weird. Um,
So so they listed every team's most recent championship, but not all the championships.
yeah. Let
Hmm,
me see if I can find it.
it's a little
I just
weird.
had it. Yeah, here we go. I'm pulling it up now. I'll read it to okay, maybe I'm not. I just clicked on the article. Um,
Yeah, we also have
Here it is. I found it. So this one is, I'll start from the beginning. Many refer to Boston as Titletown because of the massive number of championship teams from the Boston metropolitan area over the years. Boston Celtics strengthened their claims after they defeated the Dallas Mavericks for a record 18th NBA championship. Boston Celtics 2024, Red Sox 2018, Patriots 2018, Bruins 2010. The greater Boston area has seen its fair share of victory parades in recent years. It says, which city of the corner of the map has the strongest claim to Titletown? Here's another thing that's a little bit different. So let me pull up this one. So they added to New York's 54, and I'll show you. I'll tell you. So they have total championships, and it says New York, New Jersey. They added three, so it's 57. Boston is still at 40. And then Chicago is still at 29. And then they have Detroit on the run I read you is 22, but Detroit on here is 25. So they added three. And then on the list I read you, Los Angeles has 25, but this list says 34. Then they had the Montreal on here with 25, which is all the fucking hockey. So, but nonetheless. So then it says most recent championships by region: New York, New Jersey, 2021, New York City FC MLS, 2011, New York Giants, 2009, Yankees, 2003, New Jersey Devils, 73, New York Knicks. Then, Boston, I read those. And then Los Angeles, this is where like Los Angeles 2022, Los Angeles FC, MLS 2021, the Rams, 2020 Dodgers, 2020 Lakers, 2016 Los Angeles Sparks, 2014 the Kings. So I know the Sparks have won a bunch of championships. I don't know about their MLS team. And then Chicago Sky 2021, Cubs 16, Blackhawks 15, Chicago Fire 98, Bulls 98, Bears 95, Bears 85. So I'm like, you have the same number for the Bears, but it should be 31 if you should be counting the Cardinals. So it's a little bit off. And then Detroit, what did I say? Here it said Detroit was 25, but on my list, Detroit was at 22. And for Detroit, the Red Wings in 2008, the Pistons in 2004, the Detroit Tigers in 84, and then the Lions in 57. So I was like, I don't know where they're getting the extra ones in Detroit because I think Detroit's WNBA team also won a title, but I think their franchise moved to a different city, but it was still in Detroit. But it was like it's just like it doesn't. Some of this the ESPN one's a little bit off. It doesn't make sense to me. Definitely off with some numbers.
Yeah, that
I mean, Big Four, I think the NBC Sports one is definitely correct. I can double check all the numbers, but the ESPN one, like, I'm not sure how they're doing this. It's there's like they added a whole shit ton to Los Angeles, so they got like jumped like two cities to get to number three on the list. So it was a little bit dicey with that one, but nonetheless, some
yeah,
inaccuracies on ESPN.
that 2021 championship by New York FC definitely satisfied the New York fan base for championships.
Of course. Didn't you have that 2 million people parade for it? Come on now.
You know, I'm just looking this up because this shit fascinates me, I guess. In that 2021 MLS season, New York FC went 14, 11, and 9.
Yep.
They apparently, if you were going to go by goal differential, they should have been better because
They
they
probably beat some of the bad teams like 4-0 and shit
well,
like
yeah,
that
but even
too.
so, but even then, it's like they only gave up like one goal per game. Their goals for were 56. Their goals allowed were 36. So
Yeah.
they couldn't score, but they didn't really give any up either. But they finished fourth in the conference and eighth overall in terms of like best records in the league, and they won the championship.
MLS soccer is a little bit interesting with their teams and all that
Oh,
shit.
oh, 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 oh. And they won the championship on penalty kicks.
And what?
Penalty kicks.
Oh, even better.
And just when Ted Lasso had got me thinking that maybe soccer, yes, it is soccer, wasn't so stupid.
Football. Listen, they have the most insane, craziest setup for standings. It's for me, it's hard to follow Euro soccer because of all the craziness it is with the standings
Yeah,
and all that shit.
the relegation and yeah, I can't deal with it. I just
Yeah, it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. 100%, 100%. But hey, most popular sport over there in Europe. So, it's $1 billion industry tenfold, that's for sure. 100%.
yeah, I know. That's why I honestly never really been able to understand either. Is like how they're worth so much money, but that's why I don't try to think about it because what's the point? What's the point?
Nope. None whatsoever. All right, so we had a little fun with some sports stuff there. That was cool. That was cool. Definitely a little bit there. Oh man, it is a hot ass Saturday down here in North Carolina, man. We're in the 90s again. I
Oh
feel
yeah,
like
we've been in the middle of a heat wave, and I went outside at one time today. It was oppressive.
I swear so far, like what is this? This is the 20, what's the date today? 22nd. I feel like every single I'm probably accurate because this happened last year, last couple summers. I think for the month of June, there's only been 3 days where it's been below 90. I think literally every single day this full fucking month. I think 19, seriously, 19 out of the 22 days has been all in the 90s. And for
Yeah.
the rest from now until next next weekend, I believe if I look at the weather, it's supposed to be in the 90s. And I'm not
Yeah.
looking forward to traveling. I'm looking forward to going to Florida next week, but I'm not looking forward to the fucking humidity and shit.
Yeah, and it's insane too because summer only technically began 2 days ago.
Yeah, you know what? I hate those dates. Oh, the 21st or whatever is the start of summer. Really? It's fucking June. It's hot. Fuck it. It's summertime. I
Yeah.
hate those. Like I
The
know
the the
they do
traditional
those for
season, yeah,
the
the traditional season markings are becoming increasingly useless because of how extreme the temperature is getting in a lot of ways.
yeah, and how earlier it gets hot in certain regions of the US and all that jazz. I mean, just those dates mean nothing to me. It's May down here is can get into the 90s, and once June hits, all bets are off. It's summertime, baby. So it's time to rock and roll with the heat. I just gotta remember to bring some spray with me for the mosquitoes down in Florida.
Yep.
Because I don't wants to deal with them sons of bitches.
That's a good thing about Disney World, though.
Yep, so we are
You'll never encounter mosquitoes in Disney World.
nope, nope, never have.
It's because they designed everything so that mosquitoes couldn't really populate. Like mosquitoes, you'll find them in areas where you have large amounts of standing water and everything. Well, you don't get that in Disney World because of their drainage systems and because the buildings are all built so that nothing has a flat roof.
Yep,
So you
which is
don't,
good.
so you build it so that you don't allow standing water to accumulate. So mosquitoes have no place to like breed and populate and then drive everybody insane. So it's like, yeah, all the times I've been to Disney World, I can never remember saying like, oh, there's a mosquito or oh, a mosquito just bit me or something like that. I mean, it's like in other places, parts of Florida outside of Disney World, I'm like, oh, look, mosquito.
Yeah, so we had talked about I talked about this before. I talked to somebody like I was looking because Friday's kind of an open day. Um, for us while we're down there before the tournament starts. And I was like, you know what? Let's see how much tickets are. It's really insane how much it costs to go to Disney, one of the parks for one day, or Universal for one day. You know, for four people, I think it would have cost me like over $800 for Disney, and then like over $700 for Universal. And that's what some of my work's like, discount programs that we have. There's two different ones we have. And even with them, and it is, if you go multiple days, you save money. Great. Unfortunately, we're not going to be down there long enough to be going for multiple days. So it is what it is. So SeaWorld it is. We're going to SeaWorld. They have roller coasters. So I found SeaWorld tickets for $54, dude. $54 a ticket.
Yeah.
So that's what I got. I haven't been to SeaWorld since I was 6 years old, I think. So, yeah.
I thought I was at SeaWorld and I think the only, well, no, again, I don't think it was the only time, the last time I was nine. So yeah.
So, I looked at the map. They got roller coasters there now. They go a whole bunch of shit. And there's just some other new roller coaster that's supposed to open up this month. I'm not sure. Kind of hoping it's open by the time we get there, but we'll see. If not, no worries. But just enjoy some rides and some SeaWorld animals and go from there. But overall though, dude, I'm excited about the tournament, honestly. Uh, it's gonna be cool. I'm gonna take a ton of pictures and whatnot, but it's gonna be fun. I'm kind of excited to see how the presentation is and all that stuff. It's gonna be a big deal. I was asking the kid today, I was like, "You excited to go down there?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah." He's like, I think it's gonna be more exciting like once I get there and he gets his custom jersey for North American finals and all that stuff and like meets some of his teammates, that he's going to be on a team with, his teammates, I should say, and all that jazz. Because a lot of his team for Overwatch is virtual. So, he doesn't really seen them face to face. So I think that'd be kind of cool, interaction with all the kids from the top teams from all the different games or whatnot are going to all be there. So It's going to be a long Saturday, long Sunday, for the most part, but I think it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. Nothing for sure. Hopefully, my Fortnite team can get their act together and have a good North American Finals run. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's just different time, man. Would have thought video games would have been this popular to have like big tournaments and all that kind of shit. But here we are, billions of dollars to be had in video game tournaments. So its popularity has boomed. And it's not something that's going to slow down either. So it's not something that's going to be like a fad. It's going to be here and gone. That's definitely not happening. Definitely money to be made.
Yep.
All right, Patrick, you were looking at that screen with such intensity and facial movements. What have you found? What is glaring in your face?
Oh, nothing. Just kind of same old shit. Yeah, it's the same old shit. So
I'm gonna be honest. I did not watch a ton of wrestling this week. I had, for me personally, I was trying to get a lot of my stuff because we had off from work Wednesday. So I had 4 days to kind of get a lot of my work situated before I go on vacation. Because as of yesterday, when I got out of work at 5 o'clock, I closed that laptop up, shut it down, and put it in my bag. And I'm not touching it until July 2nd. So that and esports practice for me and my son and all that jazz and other stuff going on. I didn't watch a lot of wrestling. I've seen stuff. I saw a couple things. I did watch SmackDown last night. I watched that from beginning to end. So that was an interesting show.
yeah,
And I did see the last half hour of Raw Monday, the Wyatt Six. Did not watch NXT, watched very little Dynamite, like everyone else in the country, since they only got 503,000 rating. Um, and then, which I found the article. So let me time out here. Time out. I did find an article. They were talking about that 503,000 people was a 26% drop. That the WB was blaming it on the Black Panther movie only because the last quarter of that movie only had 85,000 viewers. And normally for the Big Bang Theory show that's usually on before Dynamite, they usually have between 200 to 225,000 viewers. So that kind of tells me that's a lot of people who watch the Big Bang Theory and then just so happen to keep it on to watch professional wrestling. Like, it's like the numbers jump because of a different show being on. That's a lot of casual fans were like, oh, we ain't gonna watch the Black Panther. We'll watch Dynamite because we'll watch it because Big Bang Theory's on. So it kind of makes me think if they had some random movie on every Wednesday before Dynamite, I wonder how their ratings would really do. It's just
so
because that's a
yeah,
big drop, dude. That's
yeah,
a 200 plus thousand viewer drop from their normal mid to high 700s.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like there were no NBA finals. There was no NHL finals.
I forget what else. They were
They said it
blaming,
was because it
oh,
was Juneteenth, so people were out doing stuff. That there was a Kendrick Lamar streaming concert and
wasn't
all
there the
this other
Olympic
stuff.
trials? The Olympic trials were on, I
And
think,
the
too,
Olympic
for
trials,
swimming.
I guess did a good rating, which
Yeah,
kind of surprised me to be honest. I didn't think people gave a shit about watching the fucking trials, but
I
okay,
do.
great,
I've been
great,
watching them
great.
actually.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
like,
one of those crazies.
yeah, I'm like, great, all right, okay, But it's like at some point you need to have Darth Vader come in and say, "I want that ship, not excuses,"
Yeah.
because it really feels like
And that's the WB making excuses for them.
that's what I mean. It's like
So that means that
I found I found
they're
I
all
found
in on AEW.
I found most all of their excuses when all throughout this year up till this point when they still haven't. It's been like over a year since they drew a million viewers now.
Hmm.
Um, it's like I found like all these excuse making from AEW fans, from Tony Khan, from Dave Meltzer, from whoever the fuck, to be getting tedious. But then it's like this week took the cake. I'm sorry, you can't. Even Meltzer was basically saying that you can't excuse these numbers.
No,
He said, look, if everything was down across the board, then you could dismiss it. But he even said not everything was down across the board.
no.
Some shows were down, some shows were up.
Yeah.
So what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
You know. So
So
I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, here's the thing too. Like I think I said this. I think I said this in our chat. I forget what I put in like our text messages and versus what I put in like a comment on like Cage Side Seats or a Facebook group or something. I said the real tragedy of it, if you want to call it a tragedy. And again, let me just state again, I'm not rooting for AEW to lose. I want AEW to get better, but I just don't see any way of that happening when you've got the square of suctitude that is Tony Khan, the Young Bucks, Chris Jericho, and John Moxley having so much influence over the product. So now that that's out of the way, um, I think I said it's not going to matter unless they don't get as much money as they hope slash expect. But if WBD is still going to fork over the money,
they are.
then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they are.
And I don't mean that in a it doesn't matter because somebody's watching the show way. I mean it doesn't matter because they're going to have the money. That's really all that it comes down to. And so if they get an amount of money that they deem sufficient, and God only knows what the number is because we have no idea what their bucks are. Um, they'll just keep on keeping on. I mean, shit, they've been keeping on and keeping on like this.
Hmm.
So
And the last I read from Wrestling Inc., it looks like the deal is in final stages per se. I think it's a couple things I they're speculating on what it could be, but they've been advised that, the WBD wants to get it done, Tony Khan wants to get it done. It's just going over the finalization of a couple things with distribution money, whatever the fucking case may be.
yeah,
But I fully expect by the time September rolls around, all in before they go to London, that they're going to have a new TV deal. And they're probably going to get a huge bump in the pay because they're going to have the money because they're losing the NBA. So yes, they'll have them for one more season, but after that they're losing them. So they're going to be able to afford to give AEW the money for it. So let's just see what the deal is. We can move on from there and then kind of see what Tony Khan's going to do with all this newfound fucking money. Um,
yeah. I mean,
and I'm so curious about the streaming service. The WB is going to give them a deal. You already got one of the reality shows that they did all access on the Max channel, the Max app. So why don't you put, you know, try that route. Still offer, normal pay-per-view, but try and because see, because I think the Max is either going to have their own sports tier where if you want that, you pay extra for that, or they're going to join with one of these other three or four fucking groups and create this mega, streaming service between like three or four products. But nonetheless, Max has a whole ton of sports on there now, so they're going to make that like an extra fee. Just if they do that, put AEW pay-per-views on that too and see how it works. But
but
still
there's
awful for the normal cable people too.
yeah. I thought I saw something about some deal with some streaming service.
Yeah,
Oh,
ESPN and the two others, I think I don't remember it's ESPN, Paramount, and one of the others. They're like in talks to create like this combined like streaming service. I don't even know what the hell the name of it is, a
well,
streaming app where they're gonna put all four of three or four of them are gonna put like a whole ton of like random like of their products, their movies and sports on this app, and it's gonna be one amount. where you can still pay for the single app. Just for example, you can still pay for like ESPN Plus, but if you want to do this, you don't have to pay for ESPN Plus and just buy this one. You'll get all the same shit on there and all the other fucking companies are going to be on there too.
Well, yeah, what's this thing called Triller?
It sounds familiar, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
I've heard a couple different names on there, but I'm not 100% sure with that.
Well, let me see if I can find it here.
But it's just AEW at the end of the day is going to get their money back. It is what it is. No matter if they deserve it or not, WB is happy with
Okay, this isn't, sorry,
them.
Rob. This isn't like true streaming. This isn't like WWE Network through Peacock or anything. It's like fans can now purchase past pay-per-views either a la carte or by packs by complete year, dating back to the company's beginning in 2018. Well, it wasn't really 2018. Triller, the former Fight TV.
Oh,
Is
that's right.
what it
They did
is.
change the name. I didn't know it was Thriller.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's what this is. So it's like,
All right. So
okay,
that's something totally different, but that's them rebranding themselves into something
yeah.
different.
So like, well, the a la carte pricing is $10 per show. You can buy all the 2018 and 19 shows, all in, Double or Nothing, All Out, Full Gear, Fighter Fest, and Fight for the Fallen for $35. The 2020 and 2021 packs for $30 each, which is Revolution, Double or Nothing, All Out, and Full Gear for both years. The 2022 pack is $35, Revolution, Double or Nothing, Forbidden Door, All Out, and Full Gear. And the 2023 pack is $60, Revolution, Double or Nothing, Forbidden Door, All In, All Out, Wrestle Dream, Full Gear, and World's End. So, okay. So
So like
that's not exactly what I thought it was. Then it was,
yeah, there's articles on the other ones that I was talking about. I have to probably search for them. But yeah, on the other hand, TNA is also trying to rebrand their stuff. Like they're rebranding their app where they have like I think it's a free service where you get like certain stuff and then content. And then they have like I think two tiers of paid versions where I think one of them it's a couple $100, but you get all TNA's pay-per-views. And then to be honest with you, if you kind of break it down, I think it definitely is cheaper because you get the library history and you get to watch all their pay-per-views because I think their pay-per-view still, if I go on my cable box, is still like 40 or $50 too. They still charge for pay-per-views. So, and listen, TNA still has a following. They still have fans. Some people were mocking them for doing it, but hey, you got to try. If you're getting decent buy rates, but you can make some extra money by doing this, you gain your fans to convert over to the streaming app. So, I mean, we're kind of doing it like an a la carte type of thing. And ESPN Plus kind of does the same thing. You get ESPN Plus service by itself or with the Disney bundle, but if you want UFC pay-per-views, you still have to, you can purchase them through the app. And I think they have something where you can pay X amount of dollars and watch so many. I don't know if it's all of them or X amount, half of them, or whatever the case may be. So there's different ways they're going about it. So it's just all the evolution of the streaming services, and pro wrestling has to figure it out. The other people have to figure it out because WWE's kind of has been super successful at it. So
yeah.
it's just one of those things. But at the end of the day, like I said, AEW is going to get their money. It is what it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing too. Like, some numbers that I saw, again, I have no idea if they're accurate, but we're just, for the sake of argument, going with it. Said that, like, with the deal that they're on right now, they were getting something like $45 million a year, and that they're hoping to, I don't know if it was hoping or expecting, and something that they're going to get 110 in the new deal going forward. I still don't know if that's going to make the company profitable based upon some of the estimates that we've heard in the past from people like Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, but it is pretty fucking amazing, if you ask me, that a company that's been hemorrhaging viewers would get nearly a 250% increase in the revenue. And I don't really know if the lack of the NBA is sufficient of reason because I think not having the NBA is going to cost the company revenue too. It's not like,
Hmm.
oh, they don't have it in the NBA anymore, so now they have all this money to throw around AEW. I don't think that's exactly how it works, you know? So,
Not to a certain extent, but they'll be able to afford them.
yeah. So, I mean, like I said, that way, they give them the money to AEW. That's fine. That's great. They, one thing I hate almost as much as just the overall tribalism of both AEW and W. Let me just say, tribalism of wrestling fans online. Doesn't matter what,
Hmm. Insane.
is the stupidity as well, where like people say, "Oh, AEW is going out of business." Like people are trying to say that Cornette said that. I really can't remember if he said that specifically ever. I mean, if he did at some point since AEW was created, it's possible. I don't remember saying that.
Listen,
But
TNA is still in business and they're on
yeah,
fucking Access TV.
right, exactly. Here's the thing: it's like as long as Shad Khan wants to give his son the money, AEW is not going anywhere. I know that. I understand that. Fine. Again, I would prefer that the company be better than this glorified indie shit show that it is. So anybody who says AEW is going out of business, oh, if they don't get a good TV deal, they're doomed. No, they're not. So shut up, learn something, understand how much money,
Now,
understand how much money Shad Khan has. Also understand that Shad Khan is not an Arab, which I saw some idiot online say today. Yeah, it's like he's Pakistani
come on, people, don't be stupid.
by heritage, and it's like, but I think they were also trying to say that Tony Khan was the Arab, and it's like, well, no, because as far as I know, Tony Khan was born in America too, so he's completely American. So it's just like,
I think like listen, there yes, there could be a chance that they do go out of business. TNA definitely can go out of business right now if Anthem doesn't want to fund them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because they're making money other ways and they're just used they're keeping that company going. Like now have they improved and going back to the TNA name finally, all that good stuff. Yes, they're in a good place right now. They're making strides. But at the end of the day, there's as long as the people want to funnel the money in there, they can stay in business. But yes, they technically could go out of business when it's like, wow, this is way too much money, you know, and we can't keep losing money in pro wrestling and funneling money for our other revenue sources to put it into pro wrestling. So yeah, there's going to be a breaking point, but the breaking point will not happen for a while.
yeah,
But listen, at the end of the day, when you have a professional wrestling organization and you're on a cable network like TNT and TBS, they are in a lot of homes, so you would expect them to do a bit better. Like for me, I'm not saying they need to do over 1 million. It would be nice, but I would rather see them every week between on especially Wednesdays. I would rather see them between 850 and 950.
yeah. And for a while they had settled into that, but now they've dropped off of
Yes.
that too. So that's the other thing too.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't really know if the cord cutting excuses are sufficient.
The cord cutting excuses are a fucking joke. I think
Yeah,
that's the lamest excuse these days because nothing, the cord cutting has not, everything I've researched for cord cutting has not dropped significantly where it's going to hurt fucking AEW. It's not hurting the other fucking two shows. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And as wrestlers, and I think I brought this up before, pro wrestling is like got that dedicated fan base like some other sports. Or no matter what channel you bitch and complain about being moved off of NBC to CBS, Fox to ABC, blah 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 blah. Doesn't make a fucking difference. People were pissed off when WWE got rid of their fucking streaming service and went to Peacock. But you know what? The fans fucking follow. They're gonna follow NXT to CW in October. The fans are gonna follow to fucking Netflix. Netflix is gonna see an increase in fucking people signing up for their service, and they know it. The fans are one of the most dedicated fans, along with European football fans. They're just as crazy. You know, the Canadians in hockey, Americans with NFL football. So yes, yeah, the fans will follow. So it's not going to hurt them in regards to that. So no matter where they're at, fans will follow. So the problem is your numbers are dropping because the product you're putting on there is not consistent, too indie-ish, and you're putting people where the only and here's the other part that drives me crazy. And I was trying to, think about this. Yes, WWE is its own engine that's been chugging along for decades. They have their specific brand style of pro wrestling. TNA has their specific New Japan, CMLL, Triple X, Triple A, whatever the case may be. AEW. I understand AEW, they let them wrestle more as their priority, and they, from what it seems, and their storylines are second, blah, 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 all that jazz. But when you bring on people like Okada, Will Ospreay, and you're making some of these guys that have worked overseas and they've shown up for a couple appearances and the whole Forbidden Door shit, I feel that like the announce team does not plug these guys, these wrestlers for the fans on TV to really understand who they are and where they come from.
Mhm.
I think it's too
Totally.
many times when and I don't know if this is by design or not, because I'm sorry, Tony Schiavone knows better. Taz knows better. Excalibur, sometimes I still don't know what the fuck he's doing on there,
He doesn't
and
know
what
better.
and what he's talking about, because sometimes they act like, oh my God, it's so and so. Okay, can you explain to the fans who so and so is? Because there's a small percentage of people who are watching right now who actually know who so and so it is. And the rest of the fans are like, who the fuck's this guy? He looks kind of cool. Not sure if I like him. Don't know. Give a little backstory. I feel like the commentary is rushed. I feel like when they announce fucking upcoming shows, Excalibur's flying through it and he stumbles over himself more times than he can get shit correct.
Yeah, you don't
I,
need to announce the dates for 7 fucking shows that are upcoming at one time.
it's just it's some of it's overdone. Um, And I just think it's like the consistency of the product. I think it's just hurting. I don't care if you want to put, I was about to say the B word. If you want to put on a crazy cool match, that's great. But at the end of the day, like besides getting a this is awesome chance, what else does that fucking match give you? Like, what are you getting out of these matches that are supposed there? Well, let's just use Meltzer's star rating. That was a great 4.5 star match on Dynamite last night.
Yeah,
Okay, what else?
or the
What else?
cage match ratings, yeah,
Yes.
same, which is the same thing pretty much. You know.
What you else you getting out of that 4.5 star match? What came out of it? What story came out of it? In
Mhm.
the ring and outside the ring. What's going on? And this is
Yeah,
the other thing too that people talk about. He's a good matchmaker, but not a good booker. Yeah, he can put some good fucking matches together with people who've never wrestled before and great styles that match. Other than that, where are we going? Where's the booking part at? Where's the storytelling?
yeah,
Where's it's very few and far between for AEW right now, and that's what I'm having problems with.
yeah, and it's like, I mean, Excalibur, obviously he can't think clearly because the mask is tied too tightly around his stupid fucking head. But yeah, it's like you talk about they're making a big deal of these people and nobody knows who these people are. I knew that when the Butcher and the Blade showed up and he was going fucking ape. She was like, "Oh my god, that's the Butcher and that's the Blade," and I was sitting there watching, going, "Who?"
And the bunny. Yep, yep.
So
And if you
they
didn't
always
watch
do that.
TNA, you don't know who they are.
Yeah,
And
and this is yeah, and this is why I always hate the Forbidden Door shit. First of all, let's just all agree here and now that the name slash concept of Forbidden Door is now completely outdated. And it's not just because of AEW working with AAA and CMML and New Japan and everything. WWE is working with fucking TNA now.
yeah,
So the concept is stupid.
and
It was stupid.
didn't
It was stupid to begin with, but You hit the nail on the head. So now we are here in Forbidden Door season. And at least they had the good sense to still have some matches on this show that are with just their own talent, like Osprey versus Swerve, even though if you ask me, it's too early to do that match. But obviously they want to have Osprey MGF in London. That's my theory until I'm proven otherwise. Which
Same.
which means, of course, sorry, Swerve, no more belt for you. It's
Would
okay.
suck.
You've had a completely horrible title reign as it is. So
I'm just not liking what they're doing with it.
yeah, but yeah, that Mexican woman wrestler showed up to challenge Sasha, and it's like, why am I supposed to care? I don't know who the fuck this is.
Nope.
And then it's like, you can't build these people up in like 3 or 4 weeks, especially the way that these shows are put together. They don't do anything during those shows to put together because I'm going to sound a little bit hypocritical here and everything. They put too much emphasis on matches on TV in the sense that their TV matches go on too long. Not every TV match has to be pay-per-view quality. Not every TV match needs 6 false finishes at minimum.
Yep.
You know, you could cut a couple minutes off of every match and allocate a couple more minutes to pre-tapes, promos, backstage segments, in-ring interview segments, whatever, to sell who these people are that you're bringing in, to sell why we're having a match between these two people. It's like, I don't remember again if I mentioned it here or if I was just talking to AJ about it, but they just did Anarchy in the Arena and the Elite won. So why are we having a blood and guts match now where they're coming out and saying, now we're going to have a blood and guts match?
You don't think we're tough enough, so
But,
we're gonna have a
but,
blood and
but,
guts
but, but,
match.
but why? You just won the gimmick match.
Yeah,
So it's like,
we're gonna go into another one.
you're booking a match for a reason. You're not booking a reason for a match. And unfortunately, that's what you're supposed to do. There was a reason why Hogan and Orndorff fought in the steel cage. There was a reason Undertaker and Michaels fought in the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah,
You know,
give
there
your
was a
top matches some
there,
fucking
there was a reason Dusty.
consistency.
There was a reason Dusty and Nikita and the Road Warriors fought the Horsemen in the War Games. You know, so
And on WWE side, I just feel that I don't want to say like the only title to me, and we talked about this, the only title to me that seems relevant is the Intercontinental title with Sami Zayn. That's the only one that seems relevant right now. Um, all the other titles seem to be their stories seem to be blah in regards to it. I know they've done a good job of building stories or for any of those titles. It just, I mean, Austin Theory and um, what's his tag partner? God, the Aussie man. God,
Grayson Wallaby.
Grayson Waller. It
No, I said
definitely,
Grayson Wallaby. That's his
yeah,
brother.
Wallaby. So Grayson Waller. So yes. So the only thing that's going on with those two is that they're going to break them up. So let's give them the titles because maybe they're deserving. But now we're gonna do this weird storyline where they're gonna break them up. So age old, win titles, heels can't, work together and they split up and lose the tag titles. Is that what we're doing? Okay, great. And just like, was it last night? Yeah. So again, last night, two qualifier matches, two of the same fucking finishes for both qualifier matches. Let's have somebody do a finisher or do something, and we're gonna push that person out and steal the victory for both.
Wasn't that what they also basically did at the women's tag match at Clash of the Castle?
Yes, pretty much. Yep, same thing.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys, come on. I'm like, that was a bit much. I wasn't a big fan of that. Um, their storylines, some of them I'm interested in, some of them not so much. I feel like some of them are taking too long to to get to the point. Uh, so one thing, we'll start with SmackDown. Even though Roman Reigns is not there, and I know the fans keep chanting for Roman Reigns. And some people were like, "Oh, they're chanting for Roman Reigns because no one's buying into Cody." Bullshit. They're all still fucking love Cody. They're still buying into Cody. They just want Roman Reigns back because they want Roman Reigns to take care of Solo. That's the only reason why. And there's a lot of people who are not a big fan of Solo yet. I'm fine with Solo. The God, I know some people aren't buying into them. Sorry, I do. I've watched all the New Japan stuff. They're fucking awesome. Period. So they might not be your cup of tea of tag team people or whatever the case may be, but they're both good. Bringing Jacob Fatu on last night adds more spice to it. You know, he was the MLW World Heavyweight Champion. You know, he's an average wrestler. He's got some good stuff he can do, but you know, he's a big man. He's not going to be doing some crazy high flying stuff all the time, but he can wrestle, he can go. I just think it's a different interesting dynamic with him being added as a fourth member. And the whole Paul Heyman sucks. I thought the opening of Raw was, sorry, not Raw, opening of SmackDown was good with Punk, and then, you know, Heyman coming out and shedding his tears and the bloodlight coming out. And I thought it was good storytelling when Drew showed up and, you know, kicked his ass and they had to take him away in an ambulance. You know, that's gonna hopefully they get to where they need to be, the end game with that match, and it comes out to be a good match.
Yeah, so I missed all SmackDown last night because it was at my parents' house and driving home.
Like I didn't care about the solo fucking Cody match as the main event because we all knew it was going to happen. You know, God was going to get involved. They did, and that's when Jacob showed up. But you know, still, it's going to be like a six-man tag, I guess.
Yeah,
Bloodline versus
the way that the
which you
bloodline,
called like 2 weeks ago, by
it
the
was
way. So
because the
yeah,
way that the bloodline came out at the end of Cody's match against AJ, Clash of the Castle, then that Orton and no one showed up. I'm like, oh,
yeah, pretty much.
6-man tag and Money in the Bank, so they can buy time till SummerSlam. But one thing that I think they're doing right now, it's slightly similar to a bit of what I saw yesterday when I saw Inside Out too. So they introduced like these new emotions in Inside Out too. The main one of which is anxiety, and anxiety's thing is that
Oh, because the girl's a teenager now. Yeah, that's right.
yeah, she's constantly thinking about the future without looking at the present. You know, she's like coming up with all these plans. We have to do this, this, and this. Otherwise, we'll be this. You know, but neglecting what's like right in front of you. I feel WWE is doing that a little bit, in that they're booking the next match before the current match is over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
King and the Ring winners get title shots at SummerSlam. Well, we weren't at SummerSlam yet, but because you had to do this at the Saudi show,
And
so
I think if they're going to give the king, that's another thing. If they're going to give the Queen and King of the Ring title shots at SummerSlam, and Royal Rumble's the title shots at WrestleMania, can we just make money in the bank? I know it's singles, but let's just make money in the bank either one or two things. One, it could be for any singles title. It doesn't have to be the heavyweight. It could be US or intercontinental, or make it something where you can go for any title, including tag teams, tag to tag titles, and just pick a goddamn partner.
yeah,
You know, do something different with Money in the Bank because if
or
you're
just
doing
scrap it.
yeah, or either scrap it. But I don't think they want to because that's one of
They
their
don't,
because
but
that's a pay-per-view that's always has become a big draw for them buy rate wise. So, you know, and viewer wise. So they won't get rid of it, but they need to change up
yeah, but
what Money in the Bank means when you win it.
they've overloaded us now with win this and you get a title shot stuff. Win the Royal Rumble, you get a title
Yes.
shot. Win the Elimination Chamber, you get a title shot. Depending upon how they book that, I mean, there's still flexibility with that, but a lot of times that's the way it's been lately. Win King or King and Queen of the Ring, now you get a title shot. Win Money in the Bank, you get a title shot, whatever the hell you want, which is usually, of course, done in a sudden, abrupt manner. Uh, so yeah, it's like they've settled back into this. Like it looks like they're trying to be like, all right, we need to make some new stars, and that's fine. Um, especially when you got like Roman's out. I'm not even really counting Rock. I'm normally counting Brock. Punk's hurt. Rollins has been hurt. I know Rollins just came back this past week. Uh, Jimmy Uso's out. Um, a few other people.
Yeah.
AJ's getting old. Orton's getting old. Cody and Owens and Drew aren't young in that sense either. So I get it. Um, but I don't know. It just feels like something like, And I watched Raw on Monday, and like when Drew walked out and quit, I'm like,
I saw bits and pieces of it. I really wasn't really
like
into it.
some people were trying to say, oh, well, his wife's having emergency surgery. They're giving him a couple weeks off for that, and
No.
I'm like, mate, yeah. I'm like, Punk is going to be on SmackDown on Friday in Chicago.
Drew's going to be there.
What the fuck makes you think Drew's not going to be
Yeah.
there? And apparently, this is another thing. This is something that was interesting too. This is a quick little sidebar. At the press conference, Punk said he was going to be at SmackDown to say something about his current condition, and then he didn't say anything about his current condition.
Yeah, I know. Because he was going to get his he had his final doctor's appointment to get cleared. I think he's cleared. I
Well,
think
see, that's the thing. It's like, okay, so he did a beat the shit out of Angle. Maybe that's just again so we can prolong this a little bit further, to SummerSlam. But there's going to be that nagging thing in the back of my mind. Is he ready?
mhm,
He's older. He doesn't heal as quickly. He's been a bit injury prone, unfortunately,
yeah.
especially since coming back to wrestling. So, but we'll see. But so I was watching Raw on Monday night. There was no Yankees game, um, and obviously I was waiting for the moment,
Hmm.
and then the moment happened.
I liked it.
So I got to say that the moment itself was well done, if not just a smidge ridiculous. And we discussed this in our texts, I know, but for the audience, the blood spatters
Yeah, I think they overdid those.
were a bit. The one was ridiculously large. The one that was on the wall was ridiculously large,
Yeah, some of them were overdone.
and of course then also too perfectly shaped, really, and Sims was like too perfectly circular. And then the one on poor Chad Gable, it looked like somebody walked up to him and just
I know.
blew his fucking brains out. So
Little Shop of Horrors, man.
yeah, so here's my initial thoughts. One, please leave the supernatural shit out of it.
Yes.
If they're going to be a raging pack of psychopaths, that's fine.
It needs to be more like the original Wyatt family.
Yeah.
No supernatural shit.
Two,
I need Alexa Bliss back. Go ahead. You're number two.
people were trying to say who were all these other people on the ground. Some people thought Gunther was there. Somebody thought Strowman was there. Uh, According to stuff that I've read in the last couple of days, Gable was the only one that you were supposed to be able to identify, and everybody else was extras.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah. Um, the biggest issue I have is that Tully Blanchard in the Four Horsemen DVD that WWE put out some years ago talked about the moment where he and Arn Anderson were supposed to go back to what was now WCW in late '89. And Arn did, but he didn't because he had failed the drug test on his way out the door at WWF, was why he got taken off the Survivor Series '89 card at the last minute. And he said, he used a metaphor about how you can have all these combustible elements, but none of it explodes without a blasting cap. And he said he was the blasting cap, which, okay, I guess that works.
It's fair.
Reggie Jackson said he was the straw that stirs the drink. Yeah.
Fair.
Bray Wyatt was special.
Yep.
Bray Wyatt could hold you in the palm of his hand with his promos. I don't see that with this group of people. Maybe Bo can prove me wrong. I'm highly skeptical.
Bo's going to need to be the one to do it because none of the others can.
The others definitely aren't going to.
No.
So you got to prove me wrong with that. I'm going to be skeptical until I feel like okay, and then some people have already made mention of this, and unfortunately, some people are people that I don't want to agree with, and I can't really disagree with them on what they said. How do you book this going forward? How do
Yep.
you book after the moment? It's like, how do you make them the NWO without also making them the NWO? Um, but how do you continue to make them a threat by doing stuff like this? Because, like Bruce Pritchard always says, and then the bell rang.
Yeah. And one of the things like
And I don't
last,
mean that in the sense that these people are bad workers, because I've never really seen Dexter Lumis wrestle. I've definitely never seen Joe Gacy wrestle.
they're both fine.
Eric Rowan's okay for what he is. Nikki Cross is okay for what she is. I don't ever remember being overly impressed by Bo in the ring. But at some point you have to have these people wrestle. But one problem that I always have with the Wyatt family, especially the original Wyatt family, they lost a lot.
Yes.
But they were still basically saying to us that they were a threat for this reason and that reason. And it's like, yeah, they would then all of a sudden they would circle this guy. They would go after him. There'd be a series of matches. They would ultimately lose the feud, and then they would just move on to the next person. And then it got pointless after time. So
They
how
got
do
to
you
stay
do?
away from that this time.
Well, right, but then how do you do that where you don't have these five people running amok on every show with like no consequences? But then,
Because like last night they had extra security there and they mentioned why
but they
the
weren't
extra
there.
sec yeah, but they didn't show up. There was something that blurred on the screen again with like the Wyatt Six logo, I think I did see, but they weren't there. And the other thing too is, and you, good points. I was thinking about that, and I was listening to Busted Open the other day too. After I think it was like I was listening to a repeat of their show from I think Tuesday when they were talking about this. Bully Ray kind of made the same things. Like when the bell rings, they're going to have to take their masks off. They're not going to be able to wrestle with those masks on. And people are going to know who is who, like who legitimately is who every specific character.
Yeah, if they
So
don't,
how
if they
are
if they don't already, yeah.
so of course, but like for the general fans, they're gonna find out. And like how are you going to book that? How are you going to tell the story of why Dexter Loomis is now part of the Wyatt Six? How did Nikki Cross become Sister Abigail of the
Mm-hmm.
Wyatt Six?
Yeah.
You're gonna need to figure that out. If they take the masks off, are they gonna have some type of face paint that represents the mask? So they're kind of like still the character
Mm-hmm.
of their mask, or
Yeah.
are they not? So you're gonna have to figure that out.
And,
And you're
and
gonna have
how
to have
and how long can
reasons. And like who are they gonna go after? Faces or heels? Are they gonna go after both or just one or the other?
somebody said something online when they thought that like Strowman and Gunther were among the victims about like, well, because the whole thing of the Firefly Funhouse was, we the little theme song about like, we are friends and however the fuck it went, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talk about like, it was a friendship that will never ever end. They're targeting anybody who betrayed their friends.
Yeah.
Not like not their friends in terms of like the wife's friends, but people who have betrayed their friends. So like Gable's been abusing Otis and Maxine and Tozawa. Gunther approved of Kaiser beating the shit out of Vinci. Strowman has turned on people in the past, that kind of shit. But it's like, well, it's intriguing, but at some point though, you can't keep jumping face heel like that because you know Strowman's a
Eh,
face, Gunther and Gable are heels. So, but yeah, it's like, yeah, who do you go after? And then kind of along those lines, how long do you have them being like this group that's running amok before you have to get them in the ring, you know?
Hmm.
So it's a thing where it's like I just don't see where this goes, where it ends up being a net positive. That's my biggest issue with it.
Yeah, it's challenging.
I'm willing to give it a chance,
Oh yeah, of course I will.
but another analogy I made is like without Bray, and especially because the name is in reference to him, and that they're not going to have a sixth member because he's not there. It's like that he still is the sixth member or whatever.
Yeah, because I was wondering like the why six was only five of them, so it was like Bray the sixth member or
That's what
like
it sounds like they were alluding to. So I'm like, I'm afraid that this is going to end up being like, in wrestling terms, the Freebirds without Michael Hayes, which they did do in World Class one time, or if the Horsemen had ever existed without Ric Flair, or to cross over to another genre of entertainment, it's the Beatles without John Lennon.
yeah,
How how does that work exactly?
yeah.
You know, it's like the Freebirds without Michael Hayes didn't work.
Yeah,
There
we're
was,
gonna
there was never an iteration of the Horsemen without Flair, but there was the closest thing I guess you could say was the Dangerous Alliance, but
for
that,
me too is like I don't think we should see all five of them every week on both shows. So I feel like they had the extra security and they mentioned why the extra security there because of that and the graphic showed up on the TV.
yeah.
But
I'll tell you this though, I will be pissed if I tune in to watch Raw on Monday and they never appear and then they show up on SmackDown on Friday. That's gonna make me a little PO'd, to be honest.
yeah, I mean they
No, I
should
can definitely see them doing that because, like you said, they had all the extra security there for SmackDown last night, and they never showed up. And like, obviously, there'd probably be extra security on Raw this week or something because of
yep.
what they did on Raw. And then maybe they don't show up, and so then maybe all this gets a little lax, and he lets his guard down next week on SmackDown, and then they show up and they run a buck.
Yeah, it's gonna be something. I just feel like, it could be I was thinking about this, don't have them on every show, like beating people up or whatever. I would kind of just for me, I would have it where the next time you have them all on there and just interfere, but not interfere like in a match that's going on where they're kind of just like circling the ring and they're kind of keeping an eye on these two guys that are in the ring. Say it's whoever it might be. Say it's KO wrestling, I don't know, Austin Theory, but just circling. You don't know who they're going after or who they're looking at or who's on their mind. And they kind of just security comes down and it's kind of like they just kind of leave. And then the next show, maybe one or two of them kind of just show up like in a sting thing, like in the rafters or somewhere where you're kind of overlooking the match or something. Kind of like do some random stuff with them. They're not,
Stalking people
yes. Because you,
from a distance.
yes. Stalking from a distance, but in a way where it's not always all five of them. It could be a couple. You could have Nikki Cross stalking a female match. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You're not gonna, man, the Y6, who is Sister Abigail looking at? Who's she looking at? Is it Bianca or is it Tiffany Stratton? Because you don't know. You don't want them. For me, I would not put them in the position where they're strictly going after faces or heels. You want to make this faction like to me, I would make this faction go after either side because they're not really a face or a heel. They're different. So have them go after whoever. Or give it the make people believe that you don't know who they're going after, a face or the heel. So and it could be something where maybe they semi interfere and they help a face win one week. And then the next week they kind of run some stalking interference and a heel wins. Like, oh my God, last week they helped and they came down and Cody Rhodes didn't know what to do. He gets to win, and the next week, they come down and I don't know, Gunther gets a win, just throwing some name out there. You know what I mean? Like just throw the I don't know what's going on idea out to the fans. until it's time to figure out which person and who they're going after, and kind of make it like a little bit more okay, it might be one of these three guys or these three girls, and then dwindle it down to like kind of figure out who, so the fans do then know who the Wyatt Six are going after. They just got to be a little creative and do something a little different, but keep it supernatural out of it. Don't need that supernatural stuff. It got out of hand at the end and it didn't work.
Yeah, no teleporting, no magic,
Yeah.
none of that, please.
I would like to see Alexa Bliss come back and be a part of the Wyatt Six in some fashion. Honestly, I really would, but I don't know what her plans are these days.
Yeah,
Besides being a mom.
I heard she wasn't ready to come back yet, which I understand, but yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. So, again, I'm willing to give it a chance. I'm just skeptical for all the reasons that I've laid out there. So now we're past midnight now, so
Oh my God, we are.
I just want to hammer this point home real quick.
Sure, sure.
Vince Russo can suck my ass.
Oh, I can care less about that guy.
If you watched episode 3 of Vice's Who Killed WCW series, you saw once again firsthand of why he is such an asshole. He made some good points at the beginning of the episode. Like, there was one thing now, like he said that I agreed with it. I can't really remember what it was now. But I can also agree with him saying, no, I'm not going to work on a committee. You hired me to book the show, to write the show.
Yeah.
If that's not what you want me to do, then you figure it out. I'm going home and you get to keep paying me because that's the contract I signed. I mean, that's legitimate. If you sign a contract and that's what the details of the contract were. Now, I'm, of course, guessing that there was other language in that contract that said that they could fire him and do whatever they wanted to. I'm sure.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't know that. But anyway, allergies. Um, he said he's such a stupid bastard with the way he's contradicted himself. The purpose of the Bash at the Beach promo was not to run down Hogan; it was to set up the title match and to put Booker T in it.
Yeah, bullshit.
Really?
Bullshit.
Calling him the backstage politician and a piece of shit who doesn't care about the company. He's not meant to run him down.
Yeah.
And because it's like this is like an argument I was getting to a guy with the thing saying that like when Tony Khan appears on screen on Dynamite, he's playing a character, he's not himself. I'm like, no, he's not, because he's not good enough to do that. Vince Russo was never a character on screen; he was himself. Okay, so fuck off with that shit. Him saying that he wanted to give all these guys who we thought were underused and undervalued a chance. And then he says he was better than 80% of the people on the roster, so that's why he made himself put himself on camera.
So you just contradicted everything you just said before that.
Exactly. And there was one other thing which I pointed out to you, which let's see if I can find the text message.
Yeah, it was just he made some decent points, but at the same point, like he just reverts back to being himself. And I was shocked when Tony Schiavone was the one who came up with the idea, put the belt on David Arquette. Like, Schiavone, what are you thinking?
Yeah. Oh.
And I was upset with Bischoff that he let it happen too. He was like, yeah, why not? I didn't think it was going to hurt. No, dude.
Yeah, this is it. Says that he hates the wrestling business.
But
he keeps trying to make a living off of it.
Yep.
Through having a podcast, which I'd really be curious as to how many people actually fucking listen to. And I know enough people because I see, like, WWE writer, or however they refer to him in the way to get you to click on the headline without saying that it was Vince Russo saying it. Only to find out that it was Vince Russo saying it. And I can't say I've disagreed, and I can't say I've disagreed with everything that I've ever seen him say when I click on something like that. But again, he has his own fucking podcast and everything, so he's still He's still trying to make a fucking living off the wrestling business. And he says everybody who's in the wrestling business is a bad person or whatever. And it's like self reflection so much.
No, what about you, bro?
So he's just such a
Bro,
hypocrite. It was like,
bro.
it's like the guy at the place where we did our wrestling stuff years ago. I remember he tried to defend Russo to me the one time, and it was like I knew that guy was religious and everything, and I basically just kind of put my hands on him and says, if he's a better person for turning to religion, fine, but that's not going to make me excuse what the shit that he wreaked on the wrestling companies. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't get a pass because you could become a fucking born again Christian for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Let's not get into that.
Yeah, but seriously though, and when you're talking about when you hear about somebody becoming like a born again Christian, if I was to make a list of people who claim they're born again Christians, who like I'm going to say I definitely don't believe him, he's going to be on top on that list.
Yeah, I
The
get
only
what you're saying
person
with
I
that.
can think of who would definitely be above him on that list is somebody who doesn't claim to be a born again Christian, but he sure sucks up to Christians so that they'll vote for him. And I think you know who I mean then because I said it that way. But anyway,
True. True,
so
true.
yeah, so once again, Vince Russo can go fuck himself. So now they're gonna have the last part airing this coming Tuesday, which almost sounds like it's just gonna focus on the final episode of Nitro. So it's like these people telling the stories, and it was mostly people who were there. Like the only people who I think have been interviewed for the show who weren't really like there in some way have been The Rock, but his contributions haven't been like, I don't want to say inconsequential, but they haven't been irrelevant because he a
Yeah.
couple times, especially in the last episode when he's talking about Russo, he provided some context for what somebody who was working for WWF at the time felt about Russo leaving. So
Yeah. No, true.
that was fine. And then you got the Guy Evans who wrote the big book about Nitro and everything. So, but he's interviewed a ton of people over the years, so he has insight, even though he wasn't there. He's got insight that he's gleaned from other people and everything. So I can't say there's been like talking heads who I think were not really like germane to the story. It is good also that they didn't have like a narrator for this, the way that like
Yes.
the way that Dark Side has a narrator, because the story was such enough that when you're just getting these people telling the story in their own words, that it's perfectly able to flow without somebody saying, and then blah 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 blah. So maybe like some points could have been a little clearer, a little bit more concise with that, but I don't feel like having a narrator would have added a lot. Uh,
No.
I don't remember where I was going with this. Oh, so I'm sure he'll be mentioned on this upcoming episode because he's the person that a lot of people have blamed for the ultimate death of WCW, and he literally just came in at the end and he put the final nail in the coffin. But Jamie Kellner, I saw that he just passed away.
Hmm.
I'm not going to cry any tears over that because I'll always remember him as the guy who canceled WCW. you know, Um, and it was funny. I think I saw that today on IMDb, and the article that I clicked on through, I think it was from Variety, and it was a whole list of thing about how what he did in his career as a television executive, and that's fine and everything. And I was just curious. I didn't expect to see it, and sure enough, the letters WCW were not mentioned.
Hmm. Interesting.
They mentioned that we came to Turner, and it's like he had to like something about he had to move around assets, some of which were underperforming, and I went, yeah. But they didn't mention
Yeah.
WC. They didn't mention WCW by name, so I was like,
So-called underperforming. Yeah, let's go. It's fine.
and to be fair, I mean WCW's been dead for 23 years now, so I get it. But it wasn't like WCW was a complete blip on the radar. They
Yeah.
were the number one wrestling company in the world for a period of time.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
so like I said, I'm sure he'll be mentioned. I doubt they ever sat down with him for an interview. I mean, I have no idea what his health was like before he passed, but um, he's always seemed like somebody who wouldn't ever talk about WCW really candidly in the years after anyway, at least not that I can ever remember. So
Yeah. Yeah. I just,
and he was the definition of an outsider who was suddenly put in charge of the show, you know.
oh, yeah. I get it.
He had
It's just,
he had no connection to wrestling, so I can understand why he wanted to cancel wrestling.
it's just one of those things where I think there's so much blame. At the end of the day, like, don't,
At the end of the day, the name of the program is Who Killed WCW. And at the end of the day, the answer to that is most everybody who was interviewed for this documentary, like Bischoff, obviously, Russo, Nash definitely deserves some blame. Brad Siegel definitely does. Um, so a lot of the people, who killed WCW was a combination of a lot of different various things and everything, and a lot of those people were interviewed in this show.
I would say like if I'm gonna categorize the blame, I'll put 30%, 40% of it, maybe 30% of it on Bischoff and the boys, and the rest of it's just on corporate.
Yeah, to me, it's still
Really.
the corporate.
The 30% from the boys is just the mistakes they were making
Yeah,
to give corporate that ammo to get what they wanted done before. And
right.
that's just get pro
That's the thing.
wrestling
It's
off
like
their books.
at what
Really.
point at what point of success would WCW still have to avoid getting taken off the air?
And I'm sorry, the Sting Hogan match was not a fucking turning point or a point because to be honest with you,
They still won in the ratings for how many months after that?
yeah. So one, no one really knew if that was the true finish of it because the internet was just starting. And if it didn't start for another couple years to be booming, the internet trolls that started at that time. Oh my God, that was such a shitty finish. Blah 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 blah. And that's the only reason why we got a little. Well, it wasn't supposed to be that. It was supposed to be something else. No one fucking knew, and the fans were so excited when Sting won. They still got a big pop out of it, and they were so successful, like you said on TV for so many how many months after that.
Mm-hmm.
That match had nothing to do with it. The finger poke of doom was a shit show. Um, and there's other things, but to be honest with you, like in that time, none of those scenarios was like a major part of WCW being killed. It
Yeah.
was probably like a negative. The Hogan's thing, I take that totally out. The finger poke of doom, I'll give that as a red X. Not a good thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you can add up all the other red X's, but at the end of the day, corporate wanted them out and they made it hard for Bischoff. And all the shit they were doing on the product that started spiraling downhill did not help and just gave corporate ammunition to get rid of them.
Yeah. I mean,
Period.
they started handcuffing them behind the
Yep.
scenes with standards and practices and everything, saying you can't do this, you can't do that. So essentially, trying to rein it in, curtail it from various aspects. And the problem was they were doing this at a time where WWF was going in the exact opposite direction, and it was becoming huge because of it. And I'm sure their excuse was going to be, oh, you're going to make it, like what Siegel said about when Russo was booking there at the end of '99. He made it advertiser unfriendly or whatever it was he said it. And I'm sure that was their concern with some of the stuff. It's like you can't be all late. It was like, well, WWE was still getting advertisers just fine
Yep.
apparently. So maybe it was the way that you were selling the ads. You
Yep.
weren't selling ads to the right people or something like so. And then Bischoff was always said about the creative accounting that they would take revenue WCW made and post it to another division. They would take losses or expenses incurred by another division and post them to WCW. So that's going to give you ammunition because the books are going to look bad. I have
Yep.
no idea. I mean, I am an accountant. I've never worked on any kind of books nearly as elaborate and thick as I'm sure what Time Warner was in those late '90s years. So I would have no idea how easy it is to do that. But my guess is probably not that hard, especially if you have somebody who's motivated to do it that way,
Oh yeah.
especially in a publicly traded company where you want. So they you're that's like loading up the ammunition too. So that's what I was saying. Like how successful would WCW have had to continue to be so that one, that couldn't happen with the creative accounting, and then two, that it would have made a difference when the AOL Time Warner merger went through, because that was really like the end.
Yeah.
So I mean, and again, even though he wasn't there for any of these years, like Ole Anderson years ago wrote a book, which was, I believe that the subtitle, which was, or maybe the full title was, "How Corporate America Killed Professional Wrestling," or something along those lines. I may
Yeah.
not know the exact title, but that's exactly right. I mean, and again, it really started from the moment Turner bought Jim Crockett Promotions. It's like that was the funny thing too. Cornette has reviewed the first couple of episodes. I was actually listening to his YouTube clip of the episode 2 review. He hasn't gotten episode 3 yet. At least hasn't posted anything yet. But when they were doing episode 1, he dedicated a segment of a show to talk about the stuff that happened before the show began, if you know what I mean, which was basically recounting the Jim Herd years.
Yeah.
Because his contention has always been that's when WCW started to die, because Jim Herd's mismanagement and everything gave WWF like a 5-year head start before they, Bischoff really turned the company around in 95, 96 and everything. So um, that was fairly interesting and everything. But yeah, it's just, I'm still kind of wondering again why they did this program now, like who felt the need for it.
Yeah.
I can't say there's been a lot that I've heard that was different than anything I didn't already know or thought I knew. Been a few things here and there. It is
Yeah.
interesting again to get some of the aspect, the opinions of some of the corporate people. It's
Which
interesting.
you could tell they were all negative, didn't want the shit.
Well, there's the one guy, I can't remember his name now, who seems sympathetic to Bischoff.
Yeah, yeah, he was. Yeah, I
You
remember his name.
know,
He was sympathetic to
so
Bischoff.
so it's like he seemed to be coming at it from a fairly like level playing, playing field where he wasn't like too in favor of one side versus the other or anything like that. He seemed to be analyzing like, well, this was my job, this is what I had to do, but this is what I understood he had to do his job, and that we weren't letting him do it, kind of thing. So so we've been on Brad Siegel too. I always figured that Brad Siegel was also one of the people responsible for launching Turner Classic Movies, which of course, I watch quite a bit, so I have to give him some credit for that. But
But he was
as far
stealing all the
as
revenue from the DVDs and VHSs from WCW.
right, but well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm like, but if he was good at launching TCM, then that's also one more reason it's why he shouldn't have had anything to do with WCW. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, but again, like I think I've said in the past, if you can go check out Guy Evans' book, which I believe was called Nitro, I think it was called The Incredible Rise and Inevitable Fall of WCW. I think that's what it's called. It's definitely worth
Yeah.
checking out.
I have it in my Amazon
Yeah.
uh favorites in my book
Yeah.
save list. I've been meaning to buy that book, but I always keep forgetting. And since this came back up, I think I'm gonna buy it
It
and give it a
reveals a
read.
lot of stuff about like the corporate side and the behind the scenes stuff, the
Yeah.
financial stuff. Um, and maybe to a point where it's more of that than like the on-screen stuff, but it's also based upon who he was able to talk to and everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you really want the blow by blow criticism of like every single thing that happened on screen, then go read Brian Alvarez's Death of WCW, which of course is a relentlessly negative book.
Of course it is.
um I mean, there's reason for that, but he's like negative like throughout pretty much, whereas Evans, it doesn't take a stance as far as that's concerned. Like, he doesn't get too positive or too negative. He writes it for as like a neutral observer, which is the way you're supposed to write a book like that. You know? So
Yeah. Yep. 100%. 100%. All right. We are at the 12:30 a.m. mark. It's Sunday. Yeah. So I think we're
yeah,
gonna
Sunday. Yeah, you know what
yeah,
I like to
brother.
do on Sundays? Yeah, there's only one thing I do every Sunday, and do you want to know what that is?
Yes.
Grocery shopping.
Gotta get that protein in on a Sunday.
I actually have to make 2 stops at the grocery store tomorrow, so at 2 different grocery stores. So
I gotta finish some cleaning and then go get my mother-in-law at the airport. Yep, that's what my day is. But yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, whoever joined us, I saw some people were hopping on. Thank you, appreciate it. And like always, since the third wheel's not here, I'll still plug his little ending. Like always, if I screw it up, I don't care because I'm just gonna do it my way.
we should like have him like pre-recorded so we can just like pop it up and play it on the nights where he's not here.
Oh, we should do that. That'd be great. Um, so fans, I hope you enjoyed it this evening. And like always, I hope you had fun and hope you finished with us.